Here's a fun fact about William Designs. I'm a sucker for anything miniature. I'm talking about Legos, trinkets, mini movie sets, mini dollhouse toys, my miniature Dachshund Tootsie, who we thought was a miniature Dachshund, but it turns out she's massive. And of course, the creme de la creme of my miniature obsession. Dioramas. Dioramas. Yeah, we're making a diorama today, but you're probably wondering how I'm going to accomplish such a tremendous feat. Well, you're in luck, because this is the part of the video where I break down exactly how I'm going to make this happen. First and foremost, what the heck is this going to be a diorama of? Inspired by the new Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme, I want to do a plane crash in a jungle with a little guy surrounded by a bunch of weird plants. Here's a doodle of that idea so you can visualize what I see in my head. To accomplish this, I'm going to break this project up into 3 main sections or chapters. First, we'll create the diorama in Blender as a 3D poster. Then I'll 3D print those models to get them into the real world. And finally, we'll paint and assemble the final product, which will definitely take me the longest amount of time. Any questions? All right, it's blending time. I kicked things off by filling the scene with a whole lot of flora. The first piece was this little swirly plant, which is just a cube with a skin modifier, alongside a few curvy vines, which I want to use as the main point of depth for the scene. But I didn't want things to get overwhelming. Since the end goal is turning this into real-world objects, I decided to keep the background pretty minimal. So I'm using a plane with an emission texture to act like a fake sunset. It's simple, but it adds that soft glow that backlights everything and makes the plants pop without adding too much clutter. For the plane crash, I'm making half of a plane kind of sticking outside of the ground. Yeah, that's it. I would explain this more, but I eventually changed the plane into something completely different. So just ignore this little fake experiment. All right, and honestly, a lot of this stage was just that. Experimenting by adding models, testing textures, and moving things around. For example, these fern models I found were super cool, but they instantly made the scene feel crowded, and I hadn't even added the main bulk of the models yet. To push our little swirly plants further though, I used Doublegum's Woolly add-on, which basically lets me add fur to models. Shout out Doublegum for being the best for Blender add-ons and for giving me these fuzzy plants. This was where I started making some quirky plant designs as well, like a little ball guy made of balls with some tube-like flowers, plus a blob-like plant that was just a sculpted sphere with some holes. Then I began sculpting our main explorer character. Sadly, I lost the screen recording for this part, but here's his little face and hat. I wanted this guy to look super angular and almost 2D because I recently found an artist named Zach Hackman who makes these crazy illustrations and got inspired by this chest one here, specifically this face. I basically stole this face. Once I had that, I leaned into the alien theme a bit and gave him a spacesuit. This took quite a few iterations, but I ended up basing it on the spacesuit from an old Tintin comic. This instantly gave the character a strong silhouette, and the bright color scheme really helped add some nice contrast to the scene. Even with all of this progress, something about the composition still felt messy to me. It was too busy, like the elements were competing instead of working together. So I stripped it back a bit and replaced the plane with some blocky bronze ruins. And on a whim, I decided to take the explorer's face and add it as the main focal point. I think this was a really effective change because it adds a mysterious aspect to the story. Is this some kind of explorer on a new world? Or is this some little guy finding a lost relic? I'm I'm not really sure. I didn't think that far into this. But with that done, I edited this over days, moved some plants around, added some nice grain in Photoshop, and completed the pre-real life era of this 3D poster. Introducing the 1985 Panasonic TR124MA Black and White. This top-of-the-line machine will be the envy of every living room on the block. With 12 inches of raw power and cutting-edge cathode ray technology, you can experience your favorite programs like never before in stunning grayscale. The future of yesterday is today with the 1985 Panasonic TR124MA Black and White. And I'm gonna destroy it. That's right, we're putting the poster inside of this baby.
Watch me take apart this TV. 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 Watch me take apart this
TV. Alright, so I came up with a plan. Basically, since all of the models need to fit inside of this thing, I think I can kind of wing it by roughly estimating the size of each model in correlation to the size of the TV. Which sounds like it should work? Maybe? I don't know. I'm a little Blender guy and not an engineer, so. But once I had all the measurements down, I needed to find a way to 3D print all of the different models. That's where Joel comes in. This is Joel. Joel's a full-time engineer, loves Lord of the Rings, probably the nicest guy I know, and most importantly owns a super nice 3D printer that I'm going to take advantage of for this video. Here they are in all their glory. Well, the first batch at least. We have to print these over multiple days because I made too many 3D models and have to fill up a whole TV. It's kind of crazy that I can just hold a little dude I made in 3D in real life now. And you may be wondering, what's up with the hole? Let's just say I have some limited edition plans up my sleeve. LEDs. We're doing LEDs. Before I set the scene up and figure out how all of the wiring works though, I need to sand and paint every single one of these models. I would film myself doing this, but this is literally all it's going to be for hours on end. With the pieces sanded though, I can throw on a little primer to get everything ready for some color. I'm using a basic white primer for this and doing it outside because my wife would kill me if I got any of this stuff on the furniture. I also made sure to breathe in as much of this stuff as possible, of course. I'm going to be honest, I was pretty skeptical about 3D printing at first, but the sanding and primer really transformed these somewhat wiry looking models into actual miniatures. But now comes the most fun part of this whole entire process. Painting. Thankfully, Past William truly blessed me by making a lot of these models in colors extremely basic, which means painting won't be hard at all. It'll just take quite a long time. This is probably all because I went with definitely the cheapest acrylics I could find, which means a lot of these prints require multiple coats to even look good. But once I got in a groove, this really was a blast. Also, for the ruins in the back, Joel and I originally printed them full-sized, and let's just say my incredible measurements at the beginning of this process were, well, less than ideal. So I ended up remaking the model in Blender and cutting off half of it to better fit against the side of the TV, but unfortunately, the print had some issues. Thankfully, this was a quick fix with a little modeling clay and some wood filler, which actually worked really well. Plus, with some metallic rust paint on top, these tarnished type ruins sure are ruining now. For our main boy, I made sure to take my time to paint even coats of paint, especially since he's going to be front and center with all of the lights. Also, Please don't make fun of my shaking here. I have naturally shaking hands, and this angle really exposes that. Finally, for all of these models, I'm using a glossy Mod Podge spray to give some nice wet shine to the completed pieces. But with that, I'm excited to announce your starting lineup. 1 ruin, 3 bush boys, 7 pink orbs, 6 ball cylinder things, 5 prickly plants, and 1 little guy consisting of 2 legs, a hat, a torch, and a torso. You may be wondering, what happened to his hand? Let's just say it fell off the table and now resides within the depths of everyone's favorite wiener, Tootsie. So I'll be sculpting a new one of those off camera. Thanks, Tootsie. I haven't had this much fun creating something in quite a long time. To start with a few little drawings and turn it into something tangible that I can hold and look at just makes me feel so joyful about the whole artistic process. I do want to give a huge thank you to my precious wife for letting me take over our dining room for the past few months. Here's a look at the absolute mess I would make on a day-to-day basis. And sorry for becoming totally obsessed with this project. You're the best. But with that, I guess there's only one thing left to do.